Have you ever stopped to think about silence? Not the silence of peace, but the silence that settles in a mind that begins to forget. The silence that replaces a loved name, an important date, the memory of a shared laugh. Have you wondered why some people reach 80 or 90 with a mind as sharp as a tack, capable of telling stories of their youth with astonishing clarity, while others barely 65 feel their most cherished memories slip away like sand through their fingers? What if I told you that the answer might not be in an expensive bottle of pills from a multinational pharmaceutical company, but in the humble wisdom of our grandmothers, in an ancient secret, something so simple, so natural that it has been relegated to oblivion by the whirlwind of modern life, but that could be the key to protecting our memory, our judgment, and our essence until the last of our days. Today we are not going to talk about a miracle cure, because in health, as in life, miracles are rare. We are going to talk about something much more powerful: intelligent prevention, conscious care. We are going to unearth the knowledge of a tea that your grandmother, perhaps, prepared with a love and an intention that science is only now beginning to understand. A tea that families of old, in the countryside, in villages, prepared with care without knowing that decades later, neurologists from the most prestigious universities in the world would lean over their microscopes to study its effects on the brain and find results that challenge our modern conceptions about aging. A forgotten tea that can help, and I say help with all medical responsibility, to cleanse the brain of the toxins that suffocate it, to stimulate flagging memory, and potentially to protect our neurons against the devastating progression of Alzheimer's. I am Dr. Cezar Villarreal, a specialist in brain health and dignified aging. For over 2 decades, I have had the privilege of sitting across from men and women over 60, listening to their deepest fears about memory loss and helping them chart a path to maintain an active mind, resilient memory, and balanced emotional well-being. And in this video, I want to share with you how an ancestral custom can become your greatest ally in the defense against cognitive decline. You will discover why this tea was sidelined by modernity. What exactly does the latest science say about it? What is the precise way to prepare it to extract every last drop of its power? Who, as a precaution, should avoid it? And most crucially of all, how can we integrate it into our lives to preserve the most valuable asset we possess as we add years? Our mental clarity, our identity. Stay with me until the end of this journey. And before we go further, do me a favor. In the comments, tell me from which city or country you are watching this video. I want to get an idea of how far this message of hope and prevention is reaching. And if you feel this topic is important, if it resonates in your soul, I ask you to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell icon. Your support not only helps me, but it also tells the platform that this is valuable content that more people like you need to see. Help me spread this knowledge. From the age of 60, our brain, that marvel of evolution, begins to experience a series of natural transformations. And I want to be very clear here, this does not mean under any circumstances that we are going crazy or that we are losing our minds, as is sometimes said in jokes that hide a deep fear. No. It is a biological process. But it is undeniable that the speed with which we process information, the ability to recall details from a recent conversation, or even the ease with which we learn to use a new mobile phone, can diminish. This change, unfortunately, is a silent thief. It doesn't arrive with a bang, but with whispers. It begins so slowly, so imperceptibly, that we often dismiss it. Does that feeling sound familiar, of walking into the kitchen and standing at the threshold, completely forgetting what you went in for? Or struggling to remember the name of a famous actor, having it on the tip of your tongue, a frustrating sensation that almost physically hurts? These small lapses, these senior moments, as some affectionately call them, although they can be common, should not be blindly normalized. They can be the first warning signs, like smoke before fire, that our brain is dealing with an internal battle, an accumulation of metabolic waste, the low-grade chronic inflammation, or a deficiency of essential nutrients. Imagine your brain as a bustling city. Neurons are the citizens, constantly communicating through a complex electrical network. Over time in the city, trash cans start to accumulate in the streets, toxins and plaques, power lines can start to fail, synapses weaken and the power plant can become less efficient, cellular metabolism decreases. The result is that the city becomes slower, less efficient, messages are lost, lights flicker. The good news, the news I want you to engrave in your mind today is that this is not an inescapable destiny. We are not condemned to watch our inner city fade away. The most advanced science demonstrates to us every day that it is possible to protect, strengthen, and even reverse part of this process. With the right habits, nutrition that acts as medicine, and as we will see today, with the support of certain plants that nature has offered us and that contain compounds of astonishing power for the brain. Therefore, taking care of your brain after 60 is not an option. It is an absolute priority. It's not just about remembering where you left your car keys. It's about something infinitely deeper. It's about being able to enjoy your grandchildren and remember their names. It's about maintaining your independence and not becoming a burden to your loved ones. It's about living your golden years with dignity, with clarity, with the ability to continue learning, loving, and participating fully in the tapestry of life. Now, I want you to be honest with yourself. Have you felt in recent years that your memory is no longer what it once was? Have you noticed small changes that quietly concern you? Comment below with a simple yes or share a bit of your experience if you feel comfortable. I assure you that you are not alone in this, and your courage in sharing it can be the comfort someone else needs to read today. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Let's talk about Alzheimer's. It's a word that sends shivers down your spine, that evokes images of loss and confusion. But what is it really? Alzheimer's is a degenerative, progressive, and irreversible. In simple terms, it is a process that gradually and methodically destroys the connections between our neurons, those wires that carry our memories, our thoughts, our emotions, our very identity. At first, the impact can be subtle, almost trivial. A name that slips away, a confused date, a lost object that appears in an illogical place. A person and their family usually attribute it to stress or normal aging. But the silent thief keeps working. Over time, the person begins to forget familiar faces, to confuse everyday places, to lose track of time, until the heartbreaking point comes when they can look their own child in the eyes and not recognize them. It is the loss of the self, a dissolution of the person within their own body. The most terrifying thing about Alzheimer's is its insidious nature. It can be developing in the brain for 10, 15, even 20 years before the first clear and concerning symptoms appear. It's like a slow and silent demolition of a building happening from the inside, beam by beam, until one day the facade collapses. The figures are brutal and we cannot ignore them. According to the World Health Organization, Alzheimer's and other dementias affect approximately 55 million people worldwide, and this number will triple by 2050. But here's the fact I want to hit you. Every 3 seconds, a new case is diagnosed in the world. 1, 2, 3, a new diagnosis. A new family whose world is turned upside down. It's a slow, invisible pandemic that doesn't make TV headlines, but it is destroying the fabric of millions of families from within. And here comes a crucial point that breaks with old paradigms. The cause is not solely genetic, as many people believe. Genetics may load the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger. Factors such as a pro-inflammatory diet, rich in sugars and processed fats, chronic stress that floods our brain with cortisol, sedentary living that deprives the brain of oxygen and growth factors, lack of restorative sleep that prevents nocturnal brain cleansing, exposure to environmental toxins, and even loneliness and lack of purpose are genuine accelerators of this degenerative process. That is why it is so vital, so urgent, to talk about prevention, because as of today, let's be honest, there is no definitive cure for Alzheimer's. Current medications at best can delay some symptoms for a limited time, but they do not stop the relentless progression of the disease. The true hope, the true revolution is not in a magic pill of the future, but in the decisions we make today on our plate, in our walking shoes, on our pillow, and yes, in our cup of tea. It is here where daily habits, those small repeated actions, become our most powerful armor. And it is here where our central theme comes into play, an ancestral natural tea whose compounds have shown promising results in scientific studies for neuronal protection, reduction of brain inflammation, and reduction of the risk of developing. But before I reveal to you what this tea is, I want to ask you a personal question, and I ask you to answer it from the heart. Do you know anyone in your family or circle of friends who has fought or is fighting against Alzheimer's? If so, share one word in the comments that describes that experience. Difficult, painful, heartbreaking. Your testimony is a beacon that can touch and illuminate the lives of others going through the same darkness. Did you know that what you put in your cup every day can be as decisive for your brain as the exercise you do or the medications you take? Modern science, with all its technology, is coming to a conclusion that our grandmothers knew by pure intuition nature is the oldest and wisest pharmacy in the world. Certain foods and herbs have the power to protect our neurons, reduce neuroinflammation, improve synaptic communication, and enhance our memory. Interestingly, many of these plants were already used by our ancestors long before neurology existed as a discipline. With the advancement of society, we made an error of arrogance. We replaced natural infusions with sugary and energy drinks. We replaced homemade meals, cooked slowly, with processed foods full of unpronounceable chemicals. And in that process, we forgot the inherent power that resides in the plants that humbly grow from the earth. Herbs like rosemary, turmeric, ginkgo biloba, and sage, which we will discuss in depth, contain bioactive compounds called phytochemicals. These are simply the plant's own defense mechanisms, its natural shields against pests and environmental stress. And when we consume them, they lend us those shields to protect our own cells, especially the delicate brain cells, against aging and oxidative damage. Some of these plants, for example, stimulate the production of acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter absolutely essential for memory and learning. Imagine acetylcholine as the messenger carrying information packages from one neuron to another. With age, and especially in Alzheimer's, the levels of this messenger drastically decrease. Certain herbs help more messengers to be available and to work more efficiently. Others improve cerebral blood circulation, ensuring that every corner of our brain receives the oxygen and nutrients it needs to function optimally. Think of it as improving the roads of our brain city to avoid traffic jams and ensure all supplies arrive on time. Others directly combat the formation of beta-amyloid plaques, those accumulations of toxic waste that are considered one of the main causes of Alzheimer's. They act as a specialized cleaning team that helps dissolve and eliminate this waste before it causes irreparable damage. Of course, and I must be categorical as a doctor, no tea by itself works miracles. The idea that a single thing can cure a complex disease is magical and dangerous thinking. But when used intelligently, consistently, and as part of a healthy lifestyle, a simple infusion can be an extraordinarily powerful ally, and often much safer than many medications that can cause dependence interactions or unwanted side effects. In Spain, for example, in rural areas, it was a common sight to see older women, the matriarchs, preparing specific infusions to strengthen the mind or clear thoughts. They didn't give them scientific names like neuroprotector or nootropic. It was simply grandmother's tea. But that popular wisdom distilled through generations of trial and error was science in its purest form. Today, with our advancements in neurology and pharmacognosy, the study of medicinal plants, we are in essence rediscovering and scientifically validating what our grandmothers already knew from experience. And you, do you still prepare any teas your mother or grandmother taught you? Do you remember what their favorite infusion was for a cold stomach ache or simply to soothe the soul? Tell me in the comments. I am fascinated to read those stories and rescue that lost knowledge. Let's revive that collective memory together. Imagine the scene for a moment. A simple kitchen, perhaps in a village in Castile or Andalusia, with the aroma of burnt wood and fresh herbs floating in the air. A metal teapot, dented from use, rests on the fire. And a grandmother, let's call her Carmen or Isabel or Luisa, with hands wrinkled by time and work, carefully gathers some leaves from her small garden. Leaves of a grayish-green color, velvety to the touch. She places them in the teapot to prepare an infusion that, according to her, clears the mind and calms the heart. The ritual was a common practice in countless Spanish homes well into the 20th century. The tea they prepared had a name, a characteristically bitter taste, and an almost magical effect. It was said to clear confusion, improve memory for errands and names, and provide a feeling of mental lightness. The name of this herb, Salvia Officinalis, the same sage that today is in the spotlight of neurologists and scientists for its extraordinary protective effects on the brain. Sage was popularly known for its digestive properties or for relieving sore throats. But what few people consciously knew, although they experienced it firsthand, was its power as a brain tonic. It improved memory, reduced anxiety, and protected neurons against the wear and tear of time. And it's no coincidence, the word salvia itself comes from the Latin salvare, which means literally to save or to heal. The ancient Romans already considered it a sacred plant. But with the advancement of the 20th century, this, along with many other natural remedies, fell into oblivion. The arrival of synthetic medicines, the pill for everything, the modernization of cities that drew us away from orchards and gardens, and the tragic loss of knowledge transmission from elders to youngsters led to the abandonment of these practices. They were labeled old wives' tales, superstitions without scientific basis, and the result was an irreparable loss. We lost habits that could have protected us, not only physically, but also emotionally and mentally. But life, like science, is cyclical. And now we are turning our gaze back to that ancestral wisdom, armed with the tools of modern science to understand the why. Recent studies published in prestigious scientific journals are demonstrating that the active compounds in sage can significantly improve cognitive performance, especially in people over 60 years old. What grandmother Carmen did by intuition, today we can explain at a molecular level. Now, I ask you, had you heard of the benefits of sage for the mind? Or perhaps your grandmother prepared another secret infusion to clear the head? Tell me in the comments. I want this space to be a place for us to revive those memories and that knowledge together. The protagonist of our video, as we have already revealed, is Salvia Officinalis. It is not an exotic or hard-to-find plant. It is a humble herb with ash-green leaves and a penetrating, unmistakable aroma used for centuries in Mediterranean cuisine. But what has science discovered about this plant that makes it such a fascinating object of study for neurology? The magic lies in its chemical composition. Studies conducted at universities in Germany, the United Kingdom, and Italy have identified that sage is rich in substances with complex names but very specific actions. Compounds such as rosmarinic acid, cineol targana in small and safe quantities in the infusion, and various flavonoids. These compounds have potent antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and neuroprotective actions. Let's see how they act in our brain, step by step. First, antioxidant and anti-inflammatory action. Our brain, due to its high metabolic activity, is very susceptible to oxidative stress. Think of it like rust forming on metal. This cellular rust damages our neurons and is one of the main culprits of brain aging and Alzheimer's. The compounds in sage act as a potent antioxidant, neutralizing these harmful molecules, free radicals, and reducing chronic inflammation in brain tissue. It's like applying a layer of rust protective coating to our neurons. Second, acetylcholinesterase inhibition. This is perhaps its most impressive mechanism. It sounds complicated, but it's simple. In our brain, we have the memory neurotransmitter acetylcholine, but we also have an enzyme called acetylcholinesterase, whose job is to destroy acetylcholine after it has delivered its message. It's like a mailman tearing up the letter right after reading it. In Alzheimer's disease, there is a lack of acetylcholine. Well, the compounds in sage inhibit, that is, block this destructive enzyme. By blocking it, they allow acetylcholine to remain active longer in the brain, improving communication between neurons. This translates directly into greater mental clarity, better concentration ability, and even an improvement in mood. In fact, many of the drugs approved for Alzheimer's work exactly on this same principle, but sage does it naturally. Third, direct neuron protection. Some of its components, such as carnosic acid, have been shown in laboratory studies to protect neurons from the toxicity of beta-amyloid plaques, helping to prevent their cell death. Think of it this way, more simply, sage works as a comprehensive maintenance team for the brain. On one hand, it's the cleaning crew that removes toxic waste and rust. On the other, it's the technician that improves the communication signal between neurons. And finally, it's the security guard that protects neurons from external attacks. The most incredible thing is that its effects don't take months to appear. Some studies have shown measurable improvements in memory and concentration in healthy volunteers just a few hours after consuming a sage extract. Obviously, to obtain lasting and preventive benefits, regular and sustained consumption is needed, always combined with a healthy lifestyle. But be careful, and this is crucial. Sage only offers these benefits if it is prepared and consumed in the correct way. Improper use can negate its properties, or in rare cases, be counterproductive. We will see how to do it right later in this video. Did you ever imagine that such a common plant, which you might have in your garden, could harbor such power to protect your brain? Tell me in the comments if this has surprised you. Your feedback is very important to me. What our grandmothers knew by tradition, science is now confirming with evidence. In recent years, neurologists, pharmacologists, and researchers worldwide have put sage under the microscope, and the results are, at the very least, promising. A key study, published in the prestigious Journal of Clinical Pharmacy and Therapeutics, investigated a group of patients with mild to moderate Alzheimer's. Half were given a sage extract and the other half a placebo for 4 months. The results were conclusive. The group that took sage showed a statistically significant improvement in memory, problem solving, and verbal attention compared to the placebo group. Furthermore, they reported less agitation and anxiety, a common and heartbreaking symptom of the disease. Another study, this time conducted at Northumbria University in the United Kingdom, focused on young, healthy adults. They discovered that even a single dose of sage essential oil improved performance in long-term memory tasks and attention speed. This suggests that sage not only helps brains that are already struggling, but can also boost the performance of a healthy brain. Research conducted in Spain with a population of healthy older adults revealed that those who regularly consumed sage infusion maintained more stable mental performance and a lower rate of cognitive decline over the years. Even after turning 70 and 80, scientists point out that the plant acts as a natural brain modulator. It's not a hammer that hits a single target like many synthetic drugs. It's more like an orchestra conductor who helps balance and harmonize different neurotransmitter systems involved in learning, mood, and memory, all without the severe side effects that often accompany chemical medications. In summary, what was popular wisdom today is becoming scientific evidence. Do you trust natural remedies that have stood the test of time more, or modern processed medications? Tell me in the comments. Your opinion is very valuable to this community. I remember with crystal clarity my first consultation with Antonio, a 72-year-old man who had been a wood craftsman all his life. He entered my office in silence, with a tired gaze, but with a firmness that revealed his internal struggle. He was accompanied by his concerned daughter. In a low voice, almost ashamed, he told me, "Doctor, I feel like my mind is slowing down. Sometimes in the middle of a sentence, I forget what I just said. It's as if the words are falling out of my mind." Antonio did not have an Alzheimer's diagnosis, but he was showing the first signs of what we call mild cognitive impairment. It's a gray area, a precursor that, if not addressed carefully and proactively, can evolve into full-blown dementia. We started working together. We designed a comprehensive care plan, an anti-inflammatory Mediterranean diet, a regular sleep schedule, light exercise like walking in the countryside he loves so much, and cognitive stimulation exercises. And within this plan, I included a recommendation I've been making since my residency years, a sage infusion, 1 cup a day, always in the late afternoon as a ritual to end the day. A few weeks later, Antonio returned to the office. This time, he came in alone. And he was smiling. A shy but genuine smile. "My mind is clearer, doctor," he told me. "I've started doing the newspaper crosswords again, and I'm even remembering names of old friends I thought I'd forgotten." His daughter called me days later, emotional, telling me that her father had started recounting his youth stories to her again, with details she had never heard. This kind of result, I want to be honest, doesn't come solely from the plant. It comes from Antonio's discipline, his desire to live well, his trust in the process, and the holistic approach we adopted. But seeing Antonio regain his autonomy, lucidity, and his joy with a tool as simple, safe, and natural as an infusion was one of the greatest rewards I have experienced as a doctor. It was a reminder that sometimes the deepest solutions are also the simplest.
Preparing sage tea is simple, but like any ritual, it requires attention and care to ensure that its active compounds do not degrade in the process. It's not simply about boiling water and throwing in some leaves. There's a correct way to extract the best this plant has to offer your brain. Here's how I guide my patients in the consultation, step by step.
First, the choice of herb. This is fundamental. Use dried leaves of Salvia Officinalis. Look for them in herbal stores, natural food shops, or trusted specialized pharmacies. Make sure it is pure, without blends with other herbs or artificial flavorings. The quality of the raw material is the first step towards efficacy. Second, the correct amount. Dosage matters. For 1 cup, about 250 milliliters, use 1 dessert spoon of dried leaves. If you want to prepare more to have throughout the day, I don't recommend more than 2 cups. Use 2 dessert spoons per half liter of water. Using more quantity will not necessarily give you more benefits. In fact, it could be counterproductive. Third, water temperature, the key secret. This is where most people go wrong. Put the water to heat, but remove it from the fire just before it starts to boil vigorously, around 90 to 95 degrees Celsius. If you pour boiling water over the leaves, you will burn the delicate essential oils and volatile compounds, which are a crucial part of its power. Avoid a full boil. Fourth, infusion time. Pour the hot water over the sage leaves in a cup or teapot. Immediately cover the container with a lid or a small plate. This is vital so that the essential oils do not escape with the steam. Let it steep for 8 to 10 minutes. No more, because it can become too bitter. No less, because not all beneficial compounds will be extracted. Fifth, timing of consumption. Strain the leaves and drink the tea. The ideal time is 1 cup a day, preferably in the late afternoon or evening. Sage also has a slight relaxing effect that can help calm the mind before sleep. Avoid drinking it on a completely empty stomach or right after very heavy meals. 6. Sweeten or not. Avoid white sugar at all costs, as it is pro-inflammatory and would nullify some of the benefits. If you need to sweeten it, a small amount of raw natural honey can be an option, provided you have no medical restrictions like diabetes. Ideally, you should get used to its natural and characteristic taste. Remember, consistency is infinitely more important than quantity. It's better to drink 1 cup a day for months than to drink 3 cups one day and forget about it the rest of the week. Turn the preparation and consumption of this tea into a daily self-care ritual for your mind. Although sage is a natural and safe plant for the vast majority of people, natural does not mean harmless for everyone. As a doctor, my duty is always to advise the utmost caution. Any substance that acts on our nervous system, even an herb, must be treated with respect. Pay close attention to who should not consume sage tea without direct medical supervision. Pregnant and lactating women. Sage contains compounds such as bujona that can affect hormones and theoretically stimulate the uterus. During pregnancy and lactation, the absolute priority is the baby's safety. Therefore, it should be avoided entirely. People with epilepsy or history of seizures, in high doses, much higher than a normal infusion, but caution is key. Bujona can have a neurotoxic effect and theoretically could lower the seizure threshold. If you have a history, do not consume it. People with uncontrolled high blood pressure, sage can have a slight effect on blood pressure in some people. If you suffer from hypertension and it's not well controlled with medication, talk to your cardiologist first. Patients taking specific medications. Be very careful here. If you take anticoagulant medications like warfarin, sedatives, antidiabetics, or anticonvulsants, sage could interact with them, enhancing or reducing their effects. This poses a real health risk. The golden rule is, if you are on chronic medication, always consult your doctor or pharmacist before introducing any herb into your routine. People with severe kidney or liver disease, the liver and kidneys are the body's filters. In these cases, any substance with a metabolic effect must be carefully evaluated by a professional. Furthermore, it is crucial to avoid excessive consumption. More than 1 or 2 cups a day continuously is not recommended and could lead to unwanted effects such as dry mouth, dizziness, or stomach discomfort. Moderation is the key to wisdom in health. Have you ever had an adverse reaction to tea or a plant? Share it in the comments. Your experience could serve as a warning and help for other members of this community. Sage tea by itself is an excellent ally. But if we combine it with other healthy habits, its effect multiplies exponentially. It is not an isolated solution, but a piece within a large puzzle. It becomes a true comprehensive strategy to protect yourself against mental aging. Here's how you can integrate this tea into a complete and effective routine. First, create your ritual. Choose a fixed time for your tea. As I told you, I advise my patients to do it in the afternoon or at dusk. This helps the body and mind establish a rhythm, transforming the moment into an anchor of calm and mental care in your day. Second, associate it with calm. Avoid drinking tea standing up in a hurry or while watching stressful news. Sit down, breathe deeply, enjoy its aroma. Perhaps you can read a book, listen to soft music, or simply look out the window. The brain greatly benefits from these calm environments. Third, don't abandon the fundamental pillars. Tea is a supplement, not a substitute. It must go hand in hand with a neuroprotective diet, rich in leafy green vegetables, berries, omega-3 rich fatty fish, nuts, extra virgin olive oil, and spices like turmeric. Minimize sugar, refined flours, and ultra-processed foods. Regular physical activity. You don't need to run a marathon. Brisk walking, dancing, swimming, or doing yoga 30 to 40 minutes a day increases blood flow to the brain and releases neural growth factors. Quality sleep. During deep sleep, the brain activates its cleansing system, the glymphatic system, to eliminate toxins accumulated during the day, including beta amyloid proteins. Prioritize your 7 to 8 hours of sleep. And finally, social interactions. Talking, laughing, debating, connecting with others. Socialization is one of the most powerful brain exercises there is. Loneliness is toxic for the brain. Fourth, train your mind every day. The brain is like a muscle. If you don't use it, it atrophies. Do crosswords, learn a new language, play a musical instrument, read about topics that challenge you. Novelty and constant learning create new neural connections, neuroplasticity. Imagine your brain as a garden. Diet is the nutrients in the soil. Exercise is the sun and water. Sleep is the nightly rest that allows everything to settle. Social interactions and learning are the new seeds you plant. And sage tea is that natural and protective fertilizer that helps everything flourish even with the passing of years. It is a simple, effective, and affordable tool to maintain your clarity, your concentration, and your autonomy for much, much longer. Now tell me, which of these practices is already part of your life? And which one do you commit to starting today? Share it in the comments. Putting it in writing is the first step to making it a reality. Taking care of our brain is not a matter of vanity or intelligence. It is a way to preserve our identity, our memories, our stories, the love we feel, our connection with those we love. Everything resides in the health and clarity of that marvelous structure we carry inside our skull. It is the defense of our very essence. Today we have learned about a simple tea, forgotten by many, but brimming with potential, that science is corroborating: sage, a plant that our grandmothers used with innate wisdom and that is now recognized for its ability to clear the mind, strengthen memory, and act as a protective shield against the threat of Alzheimer's. But more important than the tea itself is what it represents: a return to daily care, to conscious prevention, to respect for what is both natural and effective. It is a symbol that we can take the reins of our health and age not with fear, but with dignity and power. As your doctor and friend, my final advice is clear and unequivocal. Never wait for symptoms to appear to start taking care of your mind. Don't wait to forget an important name. Don't wait to feel lost. Prevention is the smartest, most humane, and most powerful way to age with fulfillment. I am Dr. Cezar Villarreal, and my commitment is to help you live with more clarity, more autonomy, and more well-being. If this video has brought you value, if it has ignited a light of hope or action in you, I ask you once more to like it, to share it with that family member or friend you know needs to hear this message, and to comment one last time to tell me what you take away from this conversation. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I'll see you in the next video. Senate. Until then, take care of your body, but above all and with all your effort, take care of your mind.